Waterhouse witch is here.
Like the summer, my breast is like the swan. My hair is like the raven, my middle you can span. From my head to my toes, John, I'm whiter than the snow. It's all for your conveniency. John Anderson, my Joe.
The Waterhouse witch is here. It's an odd phrase, isn't it? And very scary in the introduction. But they are the most wonderful words I have ever heard in my life, because they opened up the memories not only of a lifetime 100 years ago, but they made sense of all the lives I can remember, including this one. Let me tell you the story of how my memories were unlocked. My story doesn't begin with a dream, but the dream was the key to all my memory. Dreams have often revealed to me things that I would otherwise have not have known. One of the most important dreams of my life was the dream I had in March of 2003. I was flying free over the countryside when I saw people gathered in a yard below. I landed by a house that belonged to a musician that I worked with for years. Friends were waiting as I floated down. They were excited to see me. "The Waterhouse witch is here," they called out. The phrase surprised me. Why would they call me that? I shrugged it off and looked around. But then someone passed by and said again, "The Waterhouse witch is here." That made me pay more attention. At this point, I realized this was an important dream, and I became conscious in the dream, aware of my surroundings and able to react in them. This is a state that is called lucid dreaming. I paid closer attention to my surroundings. It was summer. The band leader was preparing for an outdoor concert. There was a trailer and a temporary stage, and he and the 3 other members of his band were setting up the sound equipment. My best friend at the time, whom I will call Leela, came out of the house. She said one last time, sounding as if she had the most reason to say it, "The Waterhouse witch is here." With that, all the hellos had been said, and everyone else got back to their own business. I wandered alone for a while, perfectly lucid, able to even breathe in the dream air. As I walked down from the house, the yard began to look familiar, like the slope of the front yard of my own childhood home. I turned and found that even the house had taken on a bit of the look I remembered from my house, now long gone. A white house surrounded by mock orange blossoms and white roses. This, I knew from years of interpreting dreams, was a sign that I was in touch with my true self. On a triangular bit of slope near the road, there was a rock garden with a white statue of a goddess in the center of it. I thought, I wonder why woman is enshrined here. And I was surprised by the word I chose, enshrined. The musician called me back. The show was starting soon. I approached him at the trailer and he smiled and said, "He's in there." I felt near to crying. I knew he was talking about my love. A dark-haired young man came out of the trailer and took me in his arms and, of course, I woke up. I got out of bed immediately, and instead of reaching for a dream journal, which would be my regular habit, I logged onto the internet and posted my dream on a bulletin board I was on at the time, a reincarnation forum. Soon after I posted, another poster asked, "Why don't you look the phrase up on the internet?" I googled Waterhouse witch immediately and saw an image of a painting by John William Waterhouse called The Magic Circle. I looked at the image, and I more than knew it. Suddenly I felt the impulse to return to Google and search for something else. Waterhouse, wife. I selected a link that promised me John William Waterhouse's portrait of his wife. These were the old days and I had dial-up. It was a huge file that took forever to download. They were the longest minutes of this or possibly any other lifetime, and it appeared line by line by line. When it was done, it took me even longer to get over the dance of shock. No, this isn't familiar. I don't see why I did this. This is so disappointing. This is nothing to me. I was lying to myself because it was too much for me. I was staring at a painting of myself at around the age of 23. Myself in this lifetime. But the painting was painted more than 100 years ago. In that moment, I discovered what research over the next few years would verify with astonishing clarity, due largely to the work of an art historian named Peter Trippi, who wrote a definitive monograph called J.W. Waterhouse, and the sources that I found on the internet, especially on a site called johnwilliamwaterhouse.com. I learned I was the reincarnation of Esther Kenworthy Waterhouse, who was born in 1857 and died in 1944. More than just being John William Waterhouse's wife, she was herself an artist and a craftswoman who also was a theater critic. By the way, these are all things I've done in my present life. John William Waterhouse, who was born in 1849 and died in 1917, is one of the better-known English Victorian painters. It was both a shock to find that I had been married to him, and not a surprise at all. Things that I have learned about Esther and about John William Waterhouse, who was known by his family and friends, and of course by me, as Nino, have fleshed out memories that I had since I was a very small child, and made sense of all of them. Memory, the memories I rely on to prove that I was the reincarnation of Esther Waterhouse, happened before that dream, happened during that dream, and only a few happened after the dream. This documentary is to share with you what I discovered, not only about Nino and myself, but about our friends and our family who have followed us from that lifetime to this one and were also parts of lifetimes that I have just begun to remember.